thing we have to fear is
in war,
fear itself.
there is no substitute for victory.
Let us never negotiate out of fear.
We stand undivided, forever united, fighting hand in hand for the liberty we've earned, for glory and honor, for our sons and daughters, ever mindful of the lessons we've learned. Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome to the intersection of faith and politics. This is WallBuilders Live with David Barton and Rick Green. Thank you for joining us today. Visit online at wallbuilders.com and wallbuilderslive.com. We're looking at things from both a biblical and historical point of view. David, sometimes we have programs that just boggle the mind when you look at what's happening in some pockets of the country. And often on college campuses. That seems to be where some of the craziest stuff comes from.
You know, we look at things from a biblical and historical point of view, and sometimes it's just a common sense point of view. And it seems so strange that you have to say that because that used to be the norm. But if you stopped anybody on the streets, especially anybody who's graduated college, and I don't care what college they've been to, and I don't care how long they were there, if they graduated last year, you say, what kind of dorm housing did you have on campus? And there can be co-ed, there can be men, women, but it's all built around two genders. It's all built around men, women, or co-ed until now. And we have a Christian, and I put that in quotes, Christian university, Wesleyan University, I think it's up in Connecticut, who has decided that no, men and women is not sufficient. There's actually 15 that we need housing for. So we're not going to house men and women as has been traditional. We need housing set up for 15 different sexualities. Now, you know, it's kind of interesting that we're now housing not for gender but for sexualities, but that's where they're headed. And so, I don't know. If we were to poll people and say, name the 15 sexualities you think they're housing for at this Christian, now post-Christian university, I don't think many people could come up with more than 5 or 6 is my guess. They could say... You would have to be pretty depraved to even think of these. Well, here's the list of the 15 that they're now housing for. All right, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, transsexual, queer, questioning, flexual, asexual, gender blank, I'm not going to say the rest of that, polyamorous, bondage/disciple, dominance/submission, sadism/masochism.
Oh, no, wait, let me just the letters themselves, because this is how they put it in all their material. LGBTQQFA GPBDSM. Look, I thought it was ridiculous when they did LGBT. Now it's
15.
15 letters. Unbelievable.
Led by a Christian university, Wesleyan University, or at least it was formed as a Christian university. And notice that it doesn't even say male and female. So genders don't matter anymore. Sexuality does. We're basing everything around sexual behavior rather than around identity, which that's a new one too. So, and this has got to drive the genuine Wesleyans nuts, because genuine Wesleyans like Jim Garlow, Everett Piper, others, these guys, there's no question in my mind that generally Wesleyans are some of the most theologically, biblically right, conservative folks in the country because they read the Bible and believe it. And so for Wesleyan University to do this, it's got to drive others nuts. And so we thought, let's get the president of a real Wesleyan University, Oklahoma Wesleyan University, President Everett Piper, to talk about what's happening in this movement. This is unbelievable stuff. And we could say biblical and cultural, but this is also common sense stuff.
This one's so out there, I'm almost speechless. Dr. Everett Piper will be with us, though, to help out. Dr. Everett Piper, when we come back, stay with us here on WallBuilders Live.
This is David Barton with another moment from America's history. Although education has remained an emphasis in America for nearly 200 years, what has changed the most over that period of time is the philosophy of education. For example, while religion finds no place of refuge in our schools today, such was not the case at the time of our founding fathers. In fact, when the Delaware Indian chiefs brought their youth to be trained in America's schools, on June the 12th, 1779, George Washington told them, "You do well to wish to learn our arts and our way of life, and above all, the religion of Jesus Christ. These will make you a greater and happier people than you are. Congress will do everything they can to assist you in this wise intention." According to George Washington, what students learned above all in American education at the time of the Founding Fathers was the religion of Jesus Christ.
For more information on God's hand in American history, contact WallBuilders at 1-800-8-REBUILD.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here at WallBuilders Live. Our guest today is Dr. Everett Piper. He's the president of Oklahoma Wesleyan University and the author of Why I'm a Liberal and Other Conservative Ideas. Has been a great speaker for us at the WallBuilders Pro-Family Legislators Conference, and we enjoy having him on the program. Dr. Piper, good to have you back.
Thank you. It's my honor to join you again.
Hey, thanks for what you guys do at the school as well, raising up a new generation of leaders with good convictions and good foundation. We were just talking off the air about how we recommend your school to folks, and you were telling me you guys are, what'd you say, 13 years consecutive growth?
Yes, we've had 13 years of consecutive growth, another record year this year, and it's frankly because we are unapologetic about our biblical worldview and conserving the time-tested truths of God. We've got this strange idea here that if you know the truth shall set you free, and we teach that, and we teach that the truth is grounded in God's revelation, that it isn't made up by you or me or anybody else, and that educational model, sadly, is unique today, even though it is the historical liberal arts model that would go clear back to Oxford or Cambridge, perhaps.
It is very unique. In fact, I think David and I have whittled it down to about less than 10 universities we recommend across the country, yours being one of those, because it has been so unique. It's almost like the campus that used to be the place where you had an exchange of ideas has become just pure indoctrination on the left-wing philosophy. And now it's just getting weird, the things that we're seeing. David said, man, we got to get Dr. Piper on to talk about what's happening at Wesleyan University. And I assume that's unrelated to Oklahoma Wesleyan University.
Absolutely. John and Charles Wesley are rolling over in their grave with all these colleges and universities across the land, across the world that carry their name that have abandoned any pretense of honoring a biblical worldview. And Wesleyan University in Connecticut is not Wesleyan any more than I'm a Muslim. I mean, that they just don't even pretend to be biblical any longer.
It's changed so much. I mean, even when, David's got a great presentation on going back to Harvard and Yale and all. I mean, it was all biblically based. And now, I mean, you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't recognize, as you said, obviously the Wesleys wouldn't recognize these universities that are named after them. How did we come so far? I mean, if you're founded on something, if it's at the heart of who you are, is that just a gradual slide of people not remembering where they came from?
Well, it's the academy is notorious for the slippery slope. Frankly, you get a bunch of very, very bright people, and they think that they are smarter than everybody else. That's the nature of the academy. I get that. I've made my entire career in this. I have a friend that wrote a paper. It was titled The Pathology of the Intellect, and he argued that the smarter you are, the more prone you are to the disease of the mind. M. Scott Peck called it the diabolical human mind, that if we lie to ourselves long enough, we believe our own lies. It's the original sin. We rise up and we think that we are as God, and we don't need God to define anything any longer, and we wrest control of all these definitions of ideas for ourselves, and we become gods with a lowercase g, and we start defining everything from marriage to morality in an aberrant way because we think we know better than anyone else. That's the nature of the academy. You have to control that through humility, otherwise hubris will run its course within the academic environment, within the ivory tower, and the humility has to be grounded in the time-tested truths of God.
Wow, that Dr. Piper, that would apply even in the political realm that we deal so much with. Same thing, right? I mean, when leaders get power, it's the same thing. Without that humility, it's going to corrupt.
Well, absolutely. In fact, let me, if I may, this story at Wesleyan University.
Yeah, sorry, I keep going down these other rabbit trails. You just say things that get me excited about. I want to learn. So anyway, go ahead.
Well, you know the story. The story is their solution to sexual assault on their campus is to integrate fraternities and sororities. So what they're going to do to solve sexual assault and the abuse of women is to force women and men to live together in fraternities and sororities. In other words, men will have the privilege of treating women, quote-unquote, fairly by having them live in their dorms, live in their houses, sleep in their rooms, and shower in their showers. Now, that's a brilliant idea, isn't it? That's the way you're going to solve sexual assault, is by having a bunch of 18 and 20-year-old guys have women live with them and shower with them. This makes no sense. You know, for decades, and here's my diatribe I'm going to give you. For decades, we've taught our kids that it doesn't matter what you believe as long as it works for you. And as the result, we see this lunacy and we see this lack of morality and lack of clarity at the highest seats of power, whether it be the government or the academy. I mean, we see these stories over and over again, decade after decade now. We see Clinton has sex with an intern, Biden plagiarizes, Edwards cheats on his dying wife, Obama lies about health care and his views of marriage. And why are we surprised? It goes back to Richard Weaver's 1948 work, Ideas Have Consequences. The ideas that we've seeded in our culture through the academy are bearing themselves out on a daily basis right now, and we shouldn't be surprised to see people acting like cads and cheats and frauds and fakes in our culture when we've taught them that it doesn't matter. And I would go further. For decades, we've taught our kids that at best there is a moral equivalency for America and its enemies. But in reality, America and Anglo-Europe is bad, and the rest of the world is right to hate us. That's what we've taught. We've taught our kids to laugh at right-wingers who warned of communism. We've taught our next generation that Marxism has its merits and that liberation theology is good. For decades, we've taught this nonsense, and why are we surprised to see the things bearing themselves out in culture as we see today? Ideas have consequences. For decades, we've fed our kids a diet of moral nihilism, known as sex education and sexual liberty. Why are we surprised to see what Wesleyan University is now doing? I could go on and on, Rick, with this. Our judges can't tell you why sodomy is unhealthy and immoral. Our State Department thinks the way to stop terrorists is to give them jobs. Our president doesn't even seem to know that the Barbary Wars existed, and he appreciates the legitimate grievances of terrorists who are crucifying children and burning people alive and cutting off the heads of Christians by dozens. These bad ideas bear fruit, and we're teaching lousy ideas across our country through the ivory tower and in the academy, and we have to recognize that those ideas will come home to roost. I agree with our president's former pastor, Jeremiah Wright. The chickens are coming home to roost. Ideas have consequences, and lousy ideas have been taught for decade after decade, and they're bearing themselves out daily before our eyes.
Wow.
You know, I'll close my diatribe with this. Howard Dean made the news a few weeks ago by saying that Scott Walker isn't qualified to be president because he doesn't have a college degree. Well, frankly, Mr. Dean, I would rather have a president who hasn't been indoctrinated by all this morally vacuous nonsense that I've just cited than one who has. And I'd rather have a president with no degree who knows he's not God than one with a degree who thinks he is.
Wow. Dr. Everett Piper, extremely powerful. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. The book is called Why I'm a Liberal and Other Conservative Ideas. You can check that out at Amazon and other websites. Dr. Piper is the president of Oklahoma Wesleyan University, one of the few in the country still teaching truth, and obviously with passion and for a reason. Those seeds, as you said, Dr. Piper, they were planted so many years ago. We're seeing, unfortunately, the bad fruit of that. Thankfully, there are folks like you on a few campuses across the country planting the good seed, but man, we've got a huge battle ahead. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us here on WallBuilders Live.
This is David Barton with another moment from America's history. Crime is one of America's most serious problems today. Its effects reach not only the direct victims of its violence, but even those who have not been attacked. The concern for crime has not been limited to this century, however. Our founding fathers were also concerned about it. Yet the effects of crime unquestionably were much less in their generation. So what was their deterrent to crime? Signer of the Constitution James McHenry answered that question. He explained, "The Holy Scriptures can alone secure to society order and peace. In vain, without the Bible, we increase penal laws and draw protections around our institutions. Bibles are strong defenses. Where they abound, men cannot pursue wicked courses. Founding Father James McHenry believed that widely teaching the Bible was the best means to deter crime.
For more information on God's hand in American history, contact WallBuilders at 1-800-8REBUILD.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on WallBuilders Live. Our guest today is Dr. Everett Piper. If you're just tuning in with us, you got to go online to wallbuilderslive.com and get today's program. Dr. Piper, you called it, a diatribe. Brother, you can go off on that anytime. Truth is what we want here. It's what we're seeking. It's rare today, and as you were saying before, what happens on these campuses is the way we fooled ourselves. I mean, now these folks look like fools. I mean, what we started off with today, this article talking about what's happening at Wesleyan University. Let me just read the letters. I'm not going to share what these stand for. Folks, you're going to have to go get the article. We got a family-friendly audience. I can't even read what these things stand for. But instead of just LGBT, they're now requiring the housing on this campus to recognize LGBT, TQQ, FAGP, BDSM, all of these different categories that have just, I guess, been created in the last few years. Dr. Piper, it's lunacy. I mean, like you said, the hubris is there, but when you step back and look at it, they're fools.
Well, it is foolish, and it's laughable. If it weren't so sad, it'd be laughable. The world is upside down in the minds of these very bright people. President Obama, back in 2008, when he was running for the presidency, Senator Obama said, "We are the ones we've been waiting for, and we are the change we seek." Again, the hubris of the elite, thinking that they can redefine everything with this acronym that is as long as the alphabet, and we don't even know what it means. So here's what we do know. Again, the world is upside down. Good becomes evil, and evil becomes good. Tolerance becomes intolerant, and they're sure that nothing is sure, and they know that nothing can be known, and they can say with a straight face that they hate those hateful people, and they just can't tolerate your intolerance. They are like dogs chasing their tail. They make no sense, and they make us dizzy. They don't recognize the foolishness of their own endeavor and their own intellect, and the lack of logic, lack of common sense, and the arrogance of saying we can even redefine what a male and a female is because we will not accept what's biologically obvious. I mean, a fifth grader, a fourth grader, a kindergartner recognizes that this makes no sense, and we should have the confidence to call it accordingly. And that's what I'm trying to do at Oklahoma Wesleyan, is educating our kids to have confidence in those time-tested truths that make sense and grant freedom rather than being held bondage to the consequences of somebody else's lies, somebody else's sin. Because, frankly, at the end of the day, these people have an opinion as to what's right and wrong. They have an opinion as to what male and female is. But opinions always end in bondage. I've said this many times, maybe even on your program before. Opinions always lead to slavery. Pol Pot had an opinion, and Mao and Robespierre and Mussolini and Hitler had opinions, and it didn't end well. It's only the truth that sets us free and gives us liberty and liberation and freedom and justice, whether it's in the academy or whether it's in the halls of government or whether it's in your community and your church. We have to return to the truth.
Before I let you go, Dr. Piper, how do you keep optimism and hope? I mean, you're planting new seeds now in this next generation. You've been there long enough now to see some of those results and see these young people get out and contribute to turning the culture around. I mean, when you see things like what we've been discussing today, how do you not just give up? I mean, how do you keep fighting, and how do you keep optimism for the future?
Well, I think you would be a fatalist, and I think you'd want to go dig a hole and become a prepper if you didn't believe in Jesus and you didn't believe in a sovereign God. I do believe that all things work together for the good of those that love the Lord. I do believe that surely God is in this place, but we just do not know it. I do believe that with Esther, we are here for such a time as this. My friend Jim Garlow out in San Diego, who's a leader that you've had on your program before, told me once in the midst of all of this crisis, and it's a very simple quote, but it's so good. What a wonderful time to be alive. We are all placed here for such a time as this, and if we're honoring the Lordship of Jesus Christ, we know we win. I don't know how, but we know we win.
That's great. Oh, God bless you, brother. Keep up the great work there, man. Thank you so much for your time today. Look forward to having you back on again soon.
Hey, blessings to you guys. Take care.
Going to take a quick break. We'll be right back on WallBuilders Live. Have you noticed the vacuum of leadership in America? We're looking around for leaders of principle to step up, and too often, no one is there. God is raising up a generation of young leaders with a passion for impacting the world around them. They're crying out for the mentorship and leadership training they need. Patriot Academy was created to meet that need. Patriot Academy graduates now serve in state capitals around America, in the halls of Congress, in business, in the film industry, in the pulpit, and every area of the culture. They're leading effectively and impacting the world around them. Patriot Academy is now expanding across the nation, and now's your chance to experience this life-changing week that trains champions to change the world. Visit patriotacademy.com for dates and locations. Our core program is still for young leaders 16 to 25 years old, but we also now have a citizen track for adults. So visit the website today to learn more. Help us fill the void of leadership in America. Join us in training champions to change the world at patriotacademy.com.
Let the torch of freedom burn.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on WallBuilders Live. Special thanks to Dr. Everett Piper. Man, a lot of wisdom there, David.
Oh, man. I love what he said, too, about instead of God being the source of truth, that in academia, in their own arrogance, their opinions are now the source of truth. And so the professors know what truth is, nobody else knows what truth is, and they teach students to be their own gods, to be their own source of truth. So whatever you students think is true, that is true for you. There is no absolute truth because we know that. We are God ourselves, and we can tell you there's... So that whole... And it reminded me of what God said in Obadiah 1, verses 2 and 3. He said, the pride of your heart has deceived you. And that's exactly where academia is today. They're so proud of what they know that they know so little, actually. He said, the pride of your heart has deceived you. You who say to yourself, who can bring me down to the ground? Nobody can knock me down. I'm too smart. He said, I'll make you small among the nations and you'll be utterly despised. And, you know, outside of academia, I think most common sense people laugh at academics and say, these guys are so ignorant. I mean, they can't even unscrew a peanut butter lid because they know too much to do that. And so I was really struck with what he was saying about the arrogance of academia. And within that framework, how that pride has deceived them, it led to the Howard Dean thing. You know, he said Howard Dean, and talking about Scott Walker, he said, Scott Walker's not qualified to be president because he doesn't have a college degree. In other words, you've not been indoctrinated by us. And because you don't know everything like we know everything, you can't be president. Now, there's several responses to that, but I want to take a shot at something here from just a little bit different. Rick, Mount Rushmore. Who's on Mount Rushmore?
Oh, no. Let's see. Washington and Jefferson, Teddy Roosevelt, I think.
Yeah.
And
Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, and Lincoln. Okay, there we go.
How many of those didn't go to college?
Oh, wow. Let's see.
Oh, before we do that, why are they on Mount Rushmore?
Amazing leaders.
Amazing.
Huge impact on the nation.
Yeah. Positive impact.
Not all positive. Some a little bit of negative there with Teddy.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, you know, definitely considered by most Americans as amazing presidents.
Now, if I were to ask you the two that had the most impact on the most positive impact on the nation, who would you choose?
I'd probably have to go with Washington and Lincoln.
Those are the two that didn't go to college.
Well, there you go.
Now, 43 presidents we've had. How many did not hold college degrees?
Ooh, good question. Man, I would guess it would be probably more in the early years, but I don't know. Maybe 5.
Better go up.
Really?
Try 11.
So 20. That's 20. What? 25%? 20.
That's
yeah,
right.
25%.
That's right. About 23% thereabouts. So you want to name them?
No chance, man.
All right.
I would guess earlier ones, but who knows? Maybe.
Well, it's not as early as you think. So let's start with George Washington. Okay, great leader. The next one is Andrew Jackson.
Wow.
Then, so that skips, 5 early ones right there. Now we're up to the 7th. Martin Van Buren, William Henry Harrison, Zachary Taylor, Millard Fillmore, Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, Grover Cleveland, William McKinley, and Harry Truman.
Wow. I have to admit, I guess I've been brainwashed because I would have never guessed that many.
So Howard Dean says you're not qualified to be president unless you have a college degree. So by Howard Dean's admission, and see, this is where academics think they are everything.
Yeah.
By his own viewpoint, Harry Truman couldn't be president. George Washington couldn't be president. Abraham Lincoln couldn't be president. I mean, you just go down these guys. It's unbelievable, the arrogance that is in academia. And now they're so smart that they have discovered 15 sexualities. And the dorms at the university are going to be set up not for men and women or whatever your perceived gender identity is. It's now based on sexualities. That's how we now identify ourselves. They are so arrogant, they are absolutely stupid. And that's where academia has gotten us. So it's good to have people like Everett Piper. It's good for us to be able, as you said, to recommend his university. You go to Oklahoma, Wesleyan University, you will not lose your brain. You will keep your common sense. And it's nice to have some of those options out there for our kids.
No doubt. It's a stark contrast. Absolute foolishness on one end of the spectrum and a lot of wisdom on the other. Parents, be wise in where you send your kids to school. Thanks for listening today to WallBuilders Live.
We stand undivided.